Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, April 13th. House Ways and Means Chair Aaron Michaelowicz is our guest this morning. Let's go on the record. In the middle of everything when it comes to the budget process and with the uncertainty in Washington, can he make the numbers work? The chair is in the chair. It's time to go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Welcome to OTR, everyone. I'm Ed Harding.
And I'm Charmin Sacchetti. And with us at the table is Massachusetts State Representative Aaron Michaelowicz. He is the chair of the House Ways and Means Committee, a position he's held since 2019. He's represented the 3rd Suffolk District since 2009, a lifelong resident of the North End, and he's a graduate of Northeastern University. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having
Great
me,
to
as
see
always.
you.
Yeah, you
Happy
too.
Sunday. Okay,
Happy
so
Sunday.
let's talk money, because the economic world is on fire right now. The House budget comes out next week. Right off the top, are tax hikes off the table?
For this budget cycle, we are taking them off the table for the House proposal that you'll be seeing next week that comes out of Ways and Means. We feel that, in these uncertain times, that not knowing what's going to be happening with Washington, what industries they're going to be targeting, what circumstances, who's going to be at most risk. We felt it was not not appropriate at this point in time to be adding any type of additional revenue, additional taxes, tax burden to our residents and to our businesses, just because they're getting attacked on it from the federal side. We wanted to prevent that happening from the state side as well.
So let's just drill down a little bit. The governor has proposed some revenue enhancers, for example, like a candy tax.
Not for our feeling was not appropriate.
At
This point in time, not doing the prescription drug. We're not lifting the charitable deductions cap, or not getting rid of that. That piece that the governor proposed as well.
Got it.
It's just it's balancing the budget with the revenues that we have. Knowing the numbers that we can produce and making sure that we provide the services to our constituents that are necessary.
Federal funding, Medicaid especially, is a massive part of the budget. It's actually what makes Mass Health work. Speaker Mariano has said $15 billion is at risk. Now, if President Trump and Elon Musk make that kind of a cut, what exactly are we talking about would have to go?
Yeah, so the unpredictability here is what's most concerning. As a budget writer and any budget writer, predictability is very important. But the unpredictability that you're facing here with the federal government is making things, extremely difficult in terms of how to project. We always have some type of, unpredictability involved in the economy and trying to guess things. But when you have a federal partnership that we've had for, forever, that's unreliable, that you just don't know what you're up against. You tell me where to cut, I know I can cut. You tell me where I can grow the budget, I'll grow the budget. But this day-to-day, not knowing what's coming next and what's around the corner.
So you're not even willing to sort of single out places where you think you may have, or are you preparing for a specific place?
It's, a lot of that is still speculative, in terms of where it's going to come from. And so we need to build our budget based off of the information that we have, the information that we know, be responsible about it, make it balanced, and make sure that it's, that it's producing, like I said, the needs of our constituents as best as we possibly can.
What about projects like the Cape Bridges? Are you worried about them?
I'm certainly worried about them. I'd be worried about anything that's tied to federal funding. But as of right now, that seems to be moving still in the proper direction. But there's the North Station bridge project that we're dealing with as well. That's requiring federal funds. There's a number of things out there that we're certainly monitoring, but have concerns.
So as a member of the House leadership, we want to ask you about the federal indictment of Representative Christopher Flanagan. The Democrat from Cape Cod is accused of defrauding his former employer to fund his House campaign, his mortgage payments, credit card payments, even personal psychic services. Can he still represent his constituents effectively?
Well, as of taping this, now, and this information is still moving.
Which is on Friday morning.
Which is on Friday morning,
so you're aware of that.
And he hasn't even been arraigned yet. But certainly this is very troubling, very concerning. It erodes the public's trust even further, which I think is always a concern of ours, and something that we need to continue to want to address as best we possibly can. In this case, I think he needs to take a look at himself and trying to figure out if he can best serve his constituents in the predicament that he's in right now.
That's the question. Can he serve his constituents effectively with this hanging over his head?
There's only one person that can make that determination, and that's him. It's he's the one that was elected, and so he has to make a determination on whether he can stay in that seat. But he certainly has to take a look in the mirror and make and realize what is best for his constituents. And I think he's going to have to do some real thinking about that over the next couple of days.
As we've said many times, the times you've been on the show, you live in the North End, you proudly live in the North End, you're a big Celtics fan, blah, 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 and you walk to work.
Yep.
Which
to
is
work.
wonderful, right?
Every day.
The public transportation continues to be a massive budget item. Last week, the House passed a $1.3 billion with a B budget for investments in transportation and education. We'll get to education in just a minute, but Governor Healy has backed Phil Eng, and the MBTA has made significant progress, but has a sustainable solution to funding been found?
We're heading in the right direction, and I think a lot of it is because we are very proud of what the GM has been doing. We think that now is the right time, the right moment. We use those one-time surplus funds from the millionaires tax that we had, putting almost $800 million into the MBTA. You're going to see next week when we release our budget that it's going to be almost another $700 million going to the MBTA in terms of operational costs, using more fair share money to go that way. We feel the time is now to get us back into a position where we can be proud of our public transportation system. It has not been that way the last 2 decades, but now we have the right moment, we have the right person running it, and we have the right opportunity with some of these funds to kind of take us back bring us back to a place where we can be more proud of the system.
I have to ask, because it is really a time of belt tightening, but you don't want to tighten the belt, it seems, on transportation funding right now.
I think because of the Fair Share Amendment having been that's helped. That's been very successful. Projections, which were ranging between $700 million and $2 billion. For the first time we collected it, we actually ended up collecting $2.4 billion. So, I mean, that has been a success in terms of the amount of money that's being used. That has to go towards education and transportation. We think it's important to be using that in the transportation sector, going for the MBTA, producing more for the MBTA. The time is now, and we think it's right.
But people at home are sitting there, wait a minute, I've heard this rhetoric, my word, rhetoric, for a generation and it hasn't happened. Why is it going to happen now?
I think you're seeing the slow zones have been disappearing. The reliability has is getting back. The safety is still still a work in progress, but it's doing better. I think you have a real focus, not just from this administration and not just from this GM, but from the legislature as well. I think we really feel we're heading in the right direction. The joke has always been that Phil Eng actually knows rails better than anybody else. Well, he really does. He knows the system. He knows how to fix it. He's breaking the eggs to make the omelet. He's really done the hard work, made the tough decisions over the last couple of years, and we want to make sure that we're fully invested into that from a financial standpoint.
Now, on education, the House budget continues to pay for free meals for all public school students, and there's $1 billion for early education as well. Massachusetts also offers free community college. Can we afford all of this still, knowing that there are so many questions with federal funding?
Listen, every year we have to reevaluate and make sure that we're building a sustainable and smart and long-term successful budget, not just from year to year, but from a long-term perspective. I go back to the fair share funding. We have that opportunity as well from an education side to pay for some of these new programs that have been very successful and been necessary and will produce a better education system for us here in Massachusetts. Universal school meals has been very successful.
You're committed to these.
And we're committed to that. You're going to see that fully funded in the budget that comes out next week. You're going to see free community college fully funded. We're going to make sure that we're still sustaining the programs that we believe in, that we've supported in the past. It is a difficult year. The uncertainty is still there, but we are going to continue to try to move forward in the best possible way we know how.
The chair is in the chair. We'll be right back after this.